Okay, Assalamualaikum. So again, this is government accounting, and in this session, we will be going over the recap on the previous lessons and also a discussion on the government accounting process. So for the recap, let's recall the concepts discussed so far. We have the overview of government accounting, the budget process, and with the government accounting process. So on our first chapter, we discussed on the previous videos the overview of government accounting. So we discussed on the definition of the government accounting, the agencies that are responsible for the government accounting. We also discussed the um, what are the responsibility, accountability, and liability over government funds and property. Okay. We also discussed the GAM, the Government Accounting Manual, which replaced the NGAS on 2016 for national government agencies. So take note, we are using now the Government Accounting Manual. And we also discussed the basic accounting and budget reporting principles. So basic accounting, so we have the basic principles like as what we discussed in the previous lessons, the compliance with PPSAS, the relevant laws, on accrual basis, on budget basis, and using the revised chart of accounts as prescribed by COA, double entry, financial statements based on accounting and budgetary records, and fund cluster accounting. So we also discussed the qualitative characteristics of financial reporting. So the all those qualitative characteristics that we have discussed in financial FA1 subjects also apply here. Only to that, the application is to government agencies. So we have a common understandability, relevance, materiality, timeliness, reliability, faithful representation, substance of reform, neutrality, prudence, completeness, and comparability. And we also discussed the components of general purpose financial statements. So here for government accounting, we have the statement of financial position, statement of financial performance, the statement of changes in net assets and equity, statement of cash flows, and the statement of comparison of budget and actual amounts, and of course, the notes of financial statements. So we still have the same elements of the financial statements, the assets, the liabilities, and the net assets or equity. So those have been so far discussed in the previous video lessons. So on our second topic, we discussed the budget process. So everyone researched and studied the national budget, and even you made your own understanding on the budget process. So the national budget is very important as it is enacted through our general appropriation, the GAA, and it is done annually every fiscal year. So the budget cycle, as what we've learned, has for recap, four steps. We have the budget preparation. So we have the budget call, budget hearings, and the presentation to the Office of the President. So basically, on the first step of this cycle, the agencies involved are DBM, the NEDA, the Department of Finance, the BSP, the government agencies, the national government agencies, of course, and the Office of the President. So we have learned about the bottom-up budgeting. So tinatanong lahat ng stakeholders from the lowest level. So MSC, for instance, will defend on the budget hearings, on the DBM, submit to the DBM our budget, and then we also have the second step, the budget legislation. So the House deliberations of the Congress will make meetings and hearings and debates on that. Then after approving, they will forward it to the Senate, and then the Senate will deliberate. And then after the Senate will approve of the budget, we will have the bicameral deliberations represented by both the Congress and the Senate. And then together they will form the GAA to be submitted to the government for enactment, the president's enactment. So the next step is the budget execution. So mainly for the third step, it is for the second step, it is more on how the House, the Congress, the Senate, and the Office of the President. For the third phase, the budget execution, it is more on the DBM and the government agencies. So the DBM, the release guidelines, and the BEDs, no, ano yung mga documents na necessary, the allotment, okay, and the incurrence of obligations and the disbursement authority. So on the last step of our cycle is the budget accountability. So mainly COA and DBM. So we have the BAR, the budget accountability reports, the performance reviews, and the audit. And the cycle goes on. Okay, so that is our budget cycle. So dito sa budget cycle, we have encountered the different steps that will make us understand how we as future accountants and auditors, state auditors, will determine the any lapses along the way. So we are more on the fourth step. Okay, so we will compare the actual versus the budgeted amounts, and also we need to be aware that these processes, as much as we can, because we are accounting students, and mga common FYIs or trivias along the way will prove very beneficial. So for last January, President Duterte just signed for something trillion for the budget for 2021, focusing on social services sector for the COVID-19 response. Okay, so now that is the recall or the recap of the two chapters so far. So the General Appropriations Act of 2021 has a theme: reset, rebound, and recover, investing for resiliency and sustainability. So actually, it is actually 4.506 trillion GAA for fiscal year 2021. Okay, so that's for general information. So for this chapter, we will discuss the government accounting process. And these are our subtopics. So we will go over them one by one. So based on the definition again of the government accounting, so it incorporates recording, no? So we are recording on the budget registries as well as on the the journals and ledgers. So we have the journals: general journal, cash receipts journal, cash disbursements journal, and check disbursements journal. For the ledgers, we have the general and also the subsidiary ledgers. So these two are actually the accounting records. So we have here the budget records or the expense diary or the log books, the registries. So these registries, we have the Registry of Revenue and Other Receipts, our ROR, Registry of Appropriations and Allotments, the ROPAL, the Registries of Allotments, Obligations, and Disbursements, the RAOD, and the Registries of Budget, Utilization, and Disbursements, the RBUD. Okay? So these are the samples, These are the samples of the registries that we maintain. So we have the budget registries, the ROR first, So we have the budget of revenue and other receipts. So as what we have discussed, these are maintained for each fund cluster. So as we've discussed in the previous chapters, we have the regular agency fund. That's one. The foreign assistance projects fund. Okay. We also have the special accounts fund. We also have the internally generated and the business related funds. We have the trust funds and the transfer funds. So yon, isa-isa, So as what you can see here, So isa-isa. So may summary at saka may per fund. Okay? So actually these forms are actually found in the GAM Manual Volume 2. So in the Volume 2, we have there the forms, the different forms. So Yan, tag-isa-isa. So, nakikita nyo dyan. Okay? So again, we have four registries. The Registry of Revenue and Other Receipts, as the example has been shown a while ago. So we also have RAPAL. We will show it later, the RAOD for the different kinds of disbursements, and the RBOD. We will go through them one by one. So we have here RAPAL, the Registry of Appropriations and Allotments. So again, by fund clusters. So notice that there is here the fund cluster here. Okay, so we need to separate each fund. Okay, so this is to ensure that the allotments will not exceed our appropriations. So as you can see here, this is actually the first page of RAPAL. So you can see here the appropriations. Then going on, we will have the second page, no, the allotments. So a while ago, it was the first page was all about the appropriations, and on the second page are the allotments, and we have the unreleased appropriations. So this is to make sure that the allotment releases are just within the authorized appropriation for each government agency. So here we have our RAOD, the Registry of Allotments, Obligations, and Disbursements. So the goal here is simple, to make sure that our obligations incurred will not exceed the allotments, and that our actual disbursements actually will not exceed obligations. So we also have here the RBOD, the Registry of Budget Utilization and Disbursements. So we record here the budget and the corresponding utilizations and disbursements charged to the retained income. So this will be maintained for each object of expenditure.